introduce our next and last guest of the evening. He is the Chelmsford City vice captain, I believe. It's Charlie Ruff.
Hello, guys. You all right?
How you doing, Charlie?
All good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Long time no see, mate.
Yeah, too long.
Been a few years, yeah. How's things, mate?
All good, yeah, all good.
Nice. Well, just to start off with, you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you are now, where you've been for us, please.
Yeah, so started at Hertford, step 5, went to Wingate and Finchley, played for Kings Langley, Hornchurch, and now at Chelmsford. So yeah, good.
Yeah, you've had a brilliant rise.
Yeah, it's been interesting. There's been a lot of ups and downs, especially in non-league. You're not to everyone's fancy, but I've found a good place where I am at the moment, and seem to be doing well there.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing well, especially this season. Obviously, playing the vast majority of the games and already 6 goals this season. So, why do you feel it's different this season to perhaps maybe at different clubs, maybe like Havant and Waterlooville?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot Havant, of course. Do you know, it's just certain managers and certain play styles just suit certain individuals. You see it all across the world with football, and certain players just seem to click with certain managers and the way certain teams play. So I've just been really fortunate that I've got a manager that has a really good understanding of me as a person and what I'm like and how I need to be managed, and just kind of gives me a platform to go out and enjoy myself, really. So that's what, obviously last year was a really good season for myself. This year it hasn't been as plain sailing as what I'd want, but there's circumstances there, team not doing as well, certain things, and it happens in football, really, doesn't it? So yeah.
No, absolutely. Let's take it back to your Hertford Town days then. What was you, a 16-year-old boy?
Yeah, so I actually played my first game when I was 16. So obviously my brother was the captain of the club. So it was Paul Halsey's last game. I think it was one of his last 2, and he was basically like, "Look, we're not going to do anything. Just come along and be on the bench." And then I actually played against Berkhamsted, my first ever game in men's football, and I was a kid. I felt like I was ready, but in hindsight, looking back now, I most certainly wasn't. So yeah, he gave me the
exactly how I remember you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you think when you're a kid and you're 16, 17, you think you're the bollocks, don't you? Really? I'm sorry, I don't know. Can you swear on here? Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. So you think you're the main man, and you think you're better than everyone, and you're watching this guy playing centre midfield who's played 400 games at step 5, and you're just like, how the hell is he can't do what I can do? But realistically, you're miles and miles off it. So yeah, Paul gave me my first sort of opportunity playing with my brother and stuff, which was really good because obviously we're 10 years apart. So it's we never thought we'd get to play together. So that was really good. And then Gavin Kelsey come in, and he was like, not really part of my plans, but I want you part of the team sort of thing in pre-season. So was with him for a little bit and went to Broxbourne when they kind of was on the real down, because they had a good team a couple of years before that, but then started to go down a bit of a slippery slope. So I was part of that team and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it just weren't a great team at the time.
Did that teach you a lot though, being a young kid in men's football, to be in a team that is on the decline? Did that teach you more about the mentality?
100%. And it was a new player coming in every week. Like you don't see it so much at the level I'm at now, where you have boys coming in and out, but there's more contracts, so the team's more secure. But then it's just random. You could turn up to training and 6 of the boys could be gone and 6 new lads come in. But yeah, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I feel sorry for some of these boys who are sat rotting away in under 18s and under 21s in pro clubs because they're not getting the experience. That experience that I've gathered is invaluable.
Being a National League South player, and you're talking about the youngsters in like the Premier League clubs and the pro clubs, what are your thoughts on the National League Cup? Because obviously they're getting the opportunity to play against teams that obviously in non-league, but like proper men's competitive games. Because really, the under-21s at pro level, that they're not real competitive games, are they? Do you know what I mean? Where it doesn't mean as much as it will do in like the National League and National League North, South, and all the way down.
There's no consequences when you got boys playing the National League and it's their full-time job and they got money on the line and they've got to pay a mortgage or they've got to pay for whatever. It means a lot. You have to win. I'm not one of these people that believes, just let people develop, because you have to win games of football. That's what we're all here for. That's why we all love the sport, to win stuff. We're not here to make up numbers. So I think I haven't seen too much about that, but I think Braintree have won every single game. So it proves how much of a jump there is to these top Premier League clubs, because Braintree are struggling in the National League. I think I don't really pay attention to that, but it proves what a big gap and how hard it is for these under-21 boys. And they come into these setups and they think it's going to be a walk in the park. But it's a lot harder and the level's a lot better than what people give it credit for.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we played Aldershot, my team, Tadley Cleaver, at Step 5. We played Aldershot in the Hampshire Senior Cup last week. And they brought their first team, and the difference in level, the sharpness, the decision-making, the touches, it's just worlds apart.
100%. It's fitness. I don't get caught. I think the league I play in is the highest non-league. I don't get caught up in the Conference Prem being a non-league, because what is there, 2 teams that are not full-time? That's a full-time league.
100%.
It's a full-time league.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we touched on this a bit last week with the news of 3 up, 3 down out of the National League. We then said it's probably the 5th professional league now, and
100%.
Perhaps the North and South, the regional split should be Step 1 all the way down. So, yeah, I think you're totally right there.
So when you went to Broxbourne Borough, you ended up back at Hertford Town?
Yeah.
Is that right?
So, yeah, that's correct. So it was like the last 2 or 3 games that we played Hertford, and I just had a good game. And Gav was like, look, like what I've seen, I'll bring you back in for pre-season. And I've just kind of like, do you know when just everything clicks? You're just in like a flow state, everything's working. And that was pretty much my pre-season ride. And I come from being one of them people, every club has it, who plays 5 minutes at the end to start in the last pre-season game.
Yeah.
And then the first squad came out for the first game of the season and I was in it. So I think I was 17 at the time, maybe 18. Yeah. And and then, as I say, the rest is sort of history. I just carried on playing for Gav and then got the England C call up. And then that's where I moved on to Wingate and Finchley.
That's fantastic. Well, we just had Becco on. He said he had a story about you, but I don't think we got around to hearing it.
Okay.
But he speaks very highly of Gav as well. So just how important was Gav to you as a 17, 18-year-old?
Yeah, he was really good. He wasn't too fussed about the age, to be honest. And there's been some good players that have come through, like Ruben. Ruben plays for Dover now. Like if you were good and you could bring something to the party, he was more than happy to throw you in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I played a lot under Gav. But then it's the flip note of being young and thinking I should play all the time. But realistically, you do realise there is certain times and certain games and certain moments where you don't deserve to play. But that is, it's wonderful now to look back on my football, and I've still got so long to go because I'm only 26. But it's crazy to think back of how entitled you must be. And football is a crazy full circle. Like now, if I see young lads on the bench and they're throwing a strop, I just think it looks crap. But I was that young kid as well. And you can never tell people. You can never tell people that's not the right way to go about it. Go and have a conversation. Go and talk face to face. And say, look, why am I not playing? That's totally within your right. But moping around you think it's the right thing to do. Oh, show that you're pissed off, but it's miles off it.
Well, you do see it. I mean, you still see it from Premier League players, so you can probably understand why these players down in non-league do it. I mean, we've seen some of the best players in the world get subbed off or whatever, and their friends drop. So you can kind of see why it does happen in the non-league scenario. But as you said, just having a chat with your manager is probably the best way to go. So Wingate and Finchley, how did you get on there?
A bit of a mixed bag, really. It was another great learning curve, stepping up, and there is definitely a step up from step 4 to step 3. I think there is but then I think the biggest one is step 2 to step 3. I think that's a big jump. But that one wasn't too bad because obviously I was part of a Hertford team that was we were decent. We were like near the playoffs, or like we had a good side. But one thing that really stood me in good stead, which was a bit weird when I moved to Wingate, was it was a very old dressing room at Hertford. A lot of like boys that had been there, done that. So you kind of get brought up in a certain manner.
Yeah.
I am the way I am because I was around a lot of these boys. So like you stay together. If there's an incident on the pitch, you're all there together. Like you just kind of learn I'd say sort of the dark arts of football, especially with Becky, the way he plays football. You have to keep running over to stop him getting sent off every 2 minutes. So you kind of learn the dark arts of football.
Yeah. No,
so do you think that matured you as a player and now has given you that kind of foundation to improve and now rise up the levels?
100%. I would never sit here and say I was the finished article at 18 and I knew everything, because I wasn't. There's still so much I've learned in the last 2 years, even last year, even this year. But I would definitely say you look at me coming through as an 18-year-old compared to these boys that have been at academies, we're worlds apart in like our maturity on the pitch and how to look after yourself, how to protect yourself on a pitch, and how to just be a bit more street savvy, I'd say. I'd say that's really a thing that is lost in this younger generation coming through, which is why it's good they need to play men's football, because they're just not street smart.
Yeah. I've got a question off the back of that. Do you think that's why we're seeing more players or more clubs at like League One, League Two, national level come down into non-league to find these younger players, because they have got that extra bit of, I guess, bite in them and a bit more savvy on the pitch rather than just a technical ability?
100%. But then I also think non-leagues come a long way in terms of most teams were just, when I first started playing, it was just crash bang wallop. And don't get me wrong, it's still a bit like that, but more teams are playing. And the thing is the academy system is so big that there's not enough space for all these boys. So many good ones are just slipping through the net. And boys are getting picked up younger and going. And I think managers are more likely to give younger kids a chance now. So they are learning their trade. And with social media and stuff, it's not hard to see, this kid scored 20 odd goals this year. Whereas maybe before it wasn't as big, where people would look into social media or flash scores or whatever it was to find out how people were getting on.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. So after Wingate and Finchley, I've got down here on my notes that Potters Bar and Hornchurch was.
Yeah, see, another one I forgot about. More clubs than Tiger Woods. Potters Bar was just not a good. It just weren't. It weren't right. I was there for like 6 games. So this is how football works in a mysterious ways. It's probably about 6 games in. I didn't play a minute. Didn't come off the bench. Didn't do nothing. Just wasn't playing.
Right.
I remember going to the pub with one of my mates, and I was just like, look, I think I'm just gonna knock it all on the head. Just not bother playing anymore. Literally just fed up. I think everyone gets like that at some point. And I'm sat in the pub with one of my mates, and I get a call from Mark Stimpson, and he goes, I want you to come to Hornchurch. And I was like, this is like a sign that it's not my time to, and God forbid I would have ever quit that day and what would have ever happened. But yeah, he told me he wanted me to come in, and he liked what I'd done before, because we played him previously when I was at Wingate. and I had a really good game, and they were wanting to push for the league. So we had a really good conversation, and he just said like he can see me pushing on and going further on and further on, and I decided to sign there, and it was the best decision I've ever made, because without that situation, I would have never done what I've done and been where I am today.
So I'm guessing did Robbie get the Chelmsford City job, and you was one of his signings? Is that how it works?
No. So what actually happened with that was I went. So about 2-3 years ago, when I signed for Chelmsford, I was probably about 22, maybe 23. I still had aspirations of being in full-time football. That was still my goal. So I went on trial with Bournemouth when they were in the National League. Done a couple of days there, didn't work out. They weren't interested, and I was just kind of looking around to see what I was going to do. Potentially going back to Hornchurch, and then I got a call off Adam Drew, and he was like, "We're interested in bringing you in." Yeah. So speaking to Simo, and we were just talking, and he was like, "Come down for a training session tomorrow. See if you like us, see if we like you." I had a session, and he was like, "I want to sign you straight away." So that was really good. So signed there, and we just it didn't start off plain sailing. I was in and out. Simo, for me, is a very demanding manager, but when you understand his demands, they become very basic, if that makes sense. So he will demand so much of you, but when you scale it back, you realize it's the bare minimum. And I didn't quite understand his philosophy at first. And I'd say at the start, it wasn't plain sailing. And then I sort of got to run into the team, and I completely brought into everything he believed in. And now the values he shares are my core values now in everything I do. So that's really important. So we started off in a bit of a rocky road, but then it got really good. And then obviously haven't come in for me. And that was still my aspiration, to go full time. So I took that leap because I believe that was the right step. In hindsight, like we say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. It wasn't, and it was a backwards move, really, because if I didn't go there and I carried on having the season that I was at Chelmsford, I might have skyrocketed. But
yeah,
no.
So Havant, what that year at Havant, is that when they had Joe Newton and players like that?
Yeah. So
because they wanted to have a right go at it, I'm guessing.
Well, they did until I decided to join. They weren't having a right go at it. It all kind of went to pot when I joined. So I think they were like second. They were second in the league, and like 2 points off Ebbsfleet. And by the time I was finished with them, they were about 9th and nowhere near the playoffs. So that's the Charlie Ruff effect. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But
obviously, what happened with Havant then? It just wasn't for you.
It just didn't work. I'd never been away from home like that, so it was a long way to travel. I was staying up there a couple of nights. I'm quite a homebody. I didn't particularly enjoy it. The days I was traveling down, I was up at 4:30 in the morning to drive there, to be there. It just wasn't for me. And I think, like everyone, we spoke about it already, boys coming from full time into non-league and how hard it is, but it's also really hard the other way. I start work at 7 a.m. and I'm finished at 4. So from that time, I don't have time to think about football or what I'm going to do in my game. It's just I'm at work. And then when that comes off, then I switch on to football mode. But when you have 10, 12, 13 hours waiting for a game to start and all you're thinking about is football, it starts to really play on your mind. And, did I do that right? Am I going to get dropped today? Am I going to be on the bench? And I think it just didn't work for me. And I don't love football in terms of waking up in the morning and want to go to the gym and want to get fit and train. Like, I just love football because I love playing. I didn't love the other side of it, and that's kind of where I struggled with it, I think.
So what happened? What happened then? Did you get on the phone to your old gaffer and said, "Come and save me," or how did it come back around?
No,
return to Chelmsford?
So I actually had a 2-year deal there. So that was a year and a half. Sorry, so that I done the half the year, and they were like, "We want to keep you for another year," and I was like, "Look, I don't want to be here. I'm not happy. It's not right. I don't think it's fair to me to keep dragging me all the way up here when I said I'm not going to be happy. You're going to get half the player, and I'm just going to be miserable and probably just try and boot balls around to prove a point that I don't want to be here." So we shook hands. We just said, "Look, we'll both go our separate ways," which they were really good with. They could have held me there. Obviously, they'd still have to pay me and stuff because I was on a contract, but it was no benefit to them. So I am grateful for them that they just allowed me to walk away. And I put, as you do now on football, you scour the net, don't you? You just put a little free transfer, free agent, or whatever you put up. I think I just said thank you, Haven't, for my time. And Adam Drew called me straight away and was like, "Simo wants you back." And I was like, "Yeah." I was in Amsterdam at the time, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, decent. And then you had last season was obviously brilliant, second in the league behind Yeovil, who were always going to be favourites, but then quite a tough defeat to take in the playoff semi-final.
Yeah, we went 18 games unbeaten throughout the season, which we had crazy momentum. I think we won something like 16 out of the 18. So it wasn't just like we were drawing, we were strong. And then we just kind of had a little blip just before the playoffs. Our goalkeeper got recalled back to Ipswich. And then we had to get in another goalie who never played with us all year. He only played like 2 games. So then we had that, and it was just a bit disjointed. We drew to Dover, who were like rock bottom, or lost. We drew to Chippenham on the last day. So we kind of went into the playoffs off the back of 3 bad results, maybe. And Braintree obviously won the first one. Then they come to us, and we beat them twice in the league, 3-0 comfortably. And it's one of them things. It happens all the time in football. The team that finishes the highest never normally get promoted.
It's the momentum, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And we did have momentum, but it kind of everyone goes, "Oh, it's good to get the home tie and good to get the one less game." I think playing that extra game, you're just in a rhythm, aren't you? Because I think it was a week or maybe it was a whole week before that game. So it's a lot building up.
Yeah. On a personal note, though, last season, 20 goals in 55 games I've got here. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, there was 19 in the league and I think 1 in the cup. I didn't play in many of the cups. So I kept getting rested. I played in every cup game this year, so I must not be as important.
But for scoring 20 goals at that level, I mean, that's a fantastic achievement, obviously. But for yourself, proud of what you've done there?
Yeah, really proud. Yeah, and I generally believed I would go and do it again this year. I think it obviously hasn't happened, but I don't think that was a fluke of a season for me. I generally think I have the ability to do that again. I just think we've all played football. We all know what it's like. Once you're in a rhythm, just everything seems to go in, doesn't it? It comes off your knee, comes off your head, anything, and you just get in a run. And the boys we were playing with, we had Jermaine Francis, who's now at Braintree. He's on loan from Barnet, but like he was a dream player for me. I like the good old fashioned right winger who's going to get to the byline, cross the ball, and that was sort of just my game, just timing my runs right and just getting on the end of things.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So
go on, Dan.
What do you think's changed from last season to now? Obviously, there's going to be some Chelmsford City fans tuning in. Is it just that the division's got a lot stronger for the teams right at the top? Obviously, we've seen the title race in the last couple of weeks where every team's on the same level of points and goal difference is bringing it down to positions. Do you think that the league's got a lot tougher?
No, I wouldn't necessarily. I'd say from Chelmsford's perspective, I can only speak on Chelmsford and where we were last year and this year. I'd say we're a very young team this year, and it shows in moments and in games and in certain situations. It doesn't mean that the boys we have are any better or any worse. It just means they're younger. And with younger players and younger teams, you get inconsistencies, which we have had. We've had some amazing results where you go on court. They were unbelievable today. And then we've had some times where you go, do they even want to be here? Which is completely understandable. And you get that. And I'm sure all the boys in that team will go on to have a really good career. But last year, the difference is we had a really experienced core and 6 or 7 players who really were experienced lads. And then we had some really good young boys who were wanting to kick on and done really well themselves. And the loan market, Chelmsford were really good in it. We got Finley Barbrook, who's playing at Sutton now, and he was just like a revelation for us. And I wouldn't necessarily say the league stronger, but I would say us as a group have more inconsistencies than what we had last year. We would win a game 1-0 by being bad. This year we struggled to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those points make all the difference, don't they?
100%. I think it's something like, I think our manager said that from half time, if the games were done by first half, we would be 4th in the league. So it proves like that little bit of experience, that little bit of nous of the ability to see out a game is sometimes where we fall a little bit short.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes all the way back to what you were saying earlier about your grounding when you're an 18-year-old of how to see out games, using those dark arts to win at any means. So, yeah obviously.
And it's like I say to the boys, like there'll be a tackle and you can make not a card a yellow card. You can make a yellow card a red card if you just make something about it. And I find that's really died down now, and everyone's like a lot nicer to each other. Whereas, like, I remember one of my first ever games, I was at Broxbourne and playing against Cockfosters. And obviously Becky didn't know me at the time, but I knew him because he played with my brother. And I've got the ball and it's down the sideline and I've just seen him coming. And I'm like, I've seen this 1,000 times. Just move out the way because he's going to try and do me. So I just moved out the way completely. And I said to him, I was like, I've seen you make that tackle 1,000 times on other people. I was like, I just was getting out of the way. And I just think like that little bit of just nous. And I get being honest and trying to win everything. But sometimes you just need to be a bit more street smart.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does the future hold for Charlie Ruff? Obviously, is it promotion with Chelmsford? Are you still got aspirations of playing in the Football League? What is it?
So I would never say never to professional football because I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right to sit here and go, no, I'd never do it, because if the right thing come in, then potentially. But that's certainly not my aspirations. I've got a full-time job. I do well with that, and I work for our family business, and I enjoy playing football as a bit more than a hobby, but something I just generally love doing. I love Chelmsford as a club. Obviously, the manager is walking away at the end of the year, so that's a conversation I'll have to have with whoever the new manager is, and they might be looking to go full-time, so that's another avenue that I'd have to navigate. But in my job, I can't. Some boys might be football coaches, so they can do the morning sessions. I work during the day, so it's impossible for me. So, in all honesty, to answer your question, I don't know what the future holds. It's just take one step at a time.
Whatever happens, happens. It's treated you well up until now, so yeah.
That's it. You can't plan out your life, otherwise you'll always be aspiring for things, and if they don't work out, then you'll get down in the dumps. I've done pretty well for 3 years of being in the Conference South, so I'm sure someone will take me.
No, absolutely. Well, listen, Charlie, it's been absolutely fantastic to have you on the show and obviously catch up. I've probably 10 years now since I last properly see you, so appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Good luck with the weekend, Charlie. Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good luck, mate. Thank you. Where are we?
That's
all right,
good.
so that was
interesting guest.
Yeah, so that was Charlie Ruff, Chelmsford City vice captain. He's doing well. He is literally gone from step 6, step 5, all the way up to step 2.
Yeah.
Say
It
step
just
1.
goes to show the importance of playing football. You know what I mean? Like he said, he dropped down to Broxbourne when they were really struggling, proved himself, and now look where it can get you.
Yeah, that is
in less than 10 years.
the story that most people will probably dream of doing. Amazing, great to listen to Becco and Charlie Ruff. But as we come to the end of the show now, it's the Dan's Predict. As you probably know now, for our regular listeners, me and Dan will choose a game to a result. If we get the result right, predict it, we get 5 points or 3 points. I can't even remember.
5 points correct score, 3 points. No. 3 points correct score,
Correct
1
score.
point result.
So we are on episode 11. Neither of us have got anything predicted correct yet, but I do believe the table is, or the result at the moment is 6-4 to myself. Last week I had Marlow to lose 4-0 to AFC Tottenham. It was 6-1 AFC Tottenham, so I'll get 1 point for the correct team winning. So I will move on to 7-4. Dan, I believe.
I just can't beat the weather at the moment. I'm picking out every game that's off. I'm an absolute nightmare. So Folkestone, Invicta, and Chichester City was off on Saturday. Although I was down in Folkestone, and I'm not 100% sure why that game was off, because they trained on it in the afternoon as well. So saying someone's trying to do me out of a point, I think.
Oh, very strange. So well, I'll move on to 7 points. Dan, obviously, with the postponement, will stay on 3 points. 4 points. Sorry. This weekend, Dan. What is it you've gone for?
I'm going way out of it. I'm taking us over the border into Scotland, and I'm branching out. I mean, I can't get anything fucking right in England non-league system, so let's go up to Scotland.
Let's hear it.
In the Lowland League, at the bottom, Gala Ferrydean Rovers. I've only have only won twice in the last 10, but I am going to back them to get a result against the ex-League 2 Albion Rovers. They're at home. They're fighting relegation. Albion Rovers are banging mid-table, not going up, not going down. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win. And I'm sure if any Gallifrey Rovers fans are listening, they're going to be pissing themselves at that. But I've got all faith. I'll be following along.
Well, there you go. If you do get the 3-1, that's a 3 point now, and we move on to 7-0. Unless I get my prediction correct. And my prediction this week is in the Southern Premier League. I've gone for Havant and Waterlooville versus Hamwell Town. Havant, and we've just mentioned with Charlie, they were trying to get promotion. What was it? Just 2 years ago now, and they're now down in step 3. Playing Hamwell Town. I know a player at Hamwell Town, Harry Seabrook, centre half. Hamwell Town are at home, so I'm going to go with a 1-2 to Havant and Waterloo, because I just feel like they're.
Did you mean that to rhyme?
Yeah, I'm going to go for 1-2 Havant and Waterloo. Superb. Havant in 6th place in the playoffs, just outside the playoffs, I think. And Hamwell in 9th, just a couple of places below, but there's a 10-point gap. So I'm going to go for an away win. Havant, I mean, they're a much bigger club than Hamwell. So
I think it's going to be a good game, though. To be honest with you, that league, you've seen how tight it is in the middle section. So I think it's going to be a cracker.
You're completely right. And obviously, AFC Tottenham, who I had last week, they are second with 2 games in hand, 6 points behind. So that is one with a Grand Slam finish. But so I'm going to go for 2-1 Havant and Waterlooville. And as always, Dan, after the Downs Predict, it is time to say goodbye. I really enjoyed tonight.
A good episode. Yeah, same. It's been enjoyable. Just the 2 guests, but some great stories, some great, I guess, if you're a young player, some learnings from Charlie and from Becco about different ways of playing and levels. So definitely an insightful and good episode. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah, and obviously next week, I think we're about 80% confirmed on our next two guests. One of them, he's
I'm
quite
looking forward to it. I'm really
yeah.
looking forward to next week.
So yeah, I'm just gonna get that all confirmed this week, and obviously you've got your man confirmed as well, and hopefully one more. I mean, I know we normally have three, and we've only had two in the last couple of weeks, but I'd say we've been let down once or twice. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, literally, we're loving all the support, as I keep saying, week in, week out. We couldn't do it without any of you, and I hope you keep enjoying the shows. See you later, Dan.
Then, mate, have a good weekend. Good luck, and I'll speak to you next week.
In about 10 minutes. Yeah, nice one, mate.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.